Welcome back to part two of our divisional breakdown of the divisional games. We're going to go ahead and jump in to the conference championship weekend. We got two games to break down, and we're going to go through these in some detail, talk to you guys about what we think's upcoming. We're going to pick our winners and our losers for these two games, and we're going to have some fun doing it. And before we go into these two games, Mike, obviously, Sunday we got the Niners at the Eagles, which is the NFC. 6:30, we got Cincinnati at Kansas City. That's the AFC. When I looked at these four games, without getting in any detail about the teams or the details, here's how I looked at it. The NFC and the AFC. The AFC, the two teams remaining, these are the two best quarterbacks in the NFL on the AFC side of the ball. Yep. When you look at the NFC, I think these are the two most complete and the two best teams in the NFL remaining on the NFC side of the ball. And to me, that was very exciting. We're going to see the two best teams play each other, and we're going to watch the two best quarterbacks play each other. It should be a really good weekend. I'm really excited for some football, and hopefully you and I can knock out some more wins on our record there. Nice. So far, taking it down, one game up on you.
Yep.
At 8-2. Obviously that puts you at 7-3. So first game, let's break it down. 49ers at the Eagles. Eagles 2.5-point favorites at home, basically meaning this is a wash at Vegas. Over-under is only 46.5, so not expecting this to be a huge game here. 21-24 is what they're kind of expecting as far as the point spreads. Mike, since you're the resident Eagles fan, I'm going to let you go ahead and take this first. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, so I think that this game is going to be all about, can the Eagles generate pressure on Brock Purdy? I think that it's a pretty well-known fact that no rookie has ever led a team to a Super Bowl before, right? And so Brock Purdy is in prime position to try and do that for the first time ever, make NFL history. I think the last person that got this close was probably Big Ben Roethlisberger way back when. I think he got to exactly this round, and he kind of just fell apart. Now, we know what kind of a career he went on to have, but it just goes to show you that as a rookie, stepping into these big games, especially on the road in a hostile environment, can be very, very tough. And so for me, it's going to be all about how much pressure can the crowd generate and how much pressure can guys like Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, and Hassan Reddick give them, right? So we know that San Francisco has a great O-line, stalwarted by the silverback is what he goes by in Trent Williams, and he's a future Hall of Famer. He's probably the best left tackle in the game right now, if I had to say so.
Easily.
And so, yeah. And so for me, what's going to come down to is the Eagles need to generate pressure and or make sure that CMC, Elijah Mitchell, and crew can't average 5 yards per carry, right? We need Linval Joseph and we need Ndamukong Suh to be able to help clog those holes up in the middle, right? So if we can do that, I think the Eagles are in good shape. However, on the other side of the ball, what San Fran wants to do defensively is, they actually want to try to let us run the ball. They're actually more. I think they had the best passing defense this year. I'm sorry, not the best passing defense. I think they had the best running defense in the league this year. And the Eagles, that's kind of what their whole identity is, right? We want to be able to run the ball so we can play action and throw the ball deep to Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown or Dallas Goedert. But their run game on defense has been just excellent. And so what we're going to have to do on the Eagles sides of things is we're going to have to overcome Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw on the linebackers. So that way, we can get the ball to our facilitators and Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And I think it's possible. What the Eagles are going to look to do is they're going to try to isolate where Hufanga is, right? Hufanga is going to be, he's an all-pro safety this year, the rookie. He's a Troy Polamalu disciple, and he even has the hair to show for it. So I think that's pretty funny. It's hilarious. But he's been great this year, but he can only help double one guy, right? And if you're doubling A.J. Brown, and guess what? Devontae Smith being our number 2 receiver, he had the most catches in Eagles history for a wide receiver, and he had nearly 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. I mean, that's enough for most guys to be a number one, but he was our number two this year. So, if you double AJ Brown, we'll go to Devontae. If you double Devontae, we'll go back to AJ Brown. If somehow you're going to bracket both of them and you're leaving Dallas Goedert open, we'll hit him. And so I think the combination of weapons and, just the general, feeling of Jalen Hurts kind of being back in terms of being able to throw the ball again a little bit more this week. Well, this last week that just happened, coupled with Brock Purdy, I think we have the team to be able to generate pressure on Brock Purdy. I think it's going to be a slugfest, man, but I think the Eagles can grind this one out. I got Philly winning this one 24-20, but in a really close, really competitive game. And, I'm as much fun as it is to say that, I'm very nervous for this one. So we'll see what this is. What are your thoughts, though?
I mean, I think you hit on some good points, and I think they are going to be the deciding factors in this game. So, I mean, first, for the Niners on offense and the Eagles on defense, I mean, you talked about pressure on Brock Purdy. I think that'll be important, but I think the bigger thing is you guys have struggled against the run all year. The Niners, they want to run the ball. They want to burn clock. They want to run the ball. That's what sets up these big plays for them. And, you don't got to worry about one or two, but three elite runners of the football coming at you from all different ways. And there are times that Shanahan's going to put two or three of these guys in the backfield at one time.
At the same time.
And there were times the Eagles struggled with one guy in the backfield. You got to stop Christian McCaffrey, maybe the second, third best running back in all of football.
Yep.
You're going to have to figure out how to stop Elijah Mitchell, who is 1,000+ yard rusher last year, who's now been relegated to a backup role, which I think should be even scarier for people because this dude was explosive.
He's legit.
Last year getting a full workload. Now the guy's getting 10 carries and he's fresh every time he touches the ball. I mean, that would scare me, especially if I knew I wasn't going to be great against a run. And on the off chance you figure out to stop those two, Deebo Samuel's going to run the ball too. And I mean, that dude's just a freak outside of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And they have an elite line blocking for them. And they have George Kittle, who's probably the best blocking tight end in the NFL. I mean, that's what they're going to do. Can you stop them from running the ball? If you can't stop this team from running the ball, you're in big, big trouble. If you can slow the running down a little bit and make them play that quick game, I think it's still going to be rough because they got so many weapons they can dump off to. But I think it puts the Eagles in a much better chance in this game if they can stop that run. On the defensive side of the ball, it's going to come down to Jalen Hurts and his ability to pass the ball. It was always a big question mark coming into the league. Hey, how good of a passer can Jalen Hurts be? There were a lot of question marks about that last year. He spent a lot of time in the offseason. He talked about it. He got coaching. He spent a lot of time training. He has looked a lot better this year as a passer. But look, you're not going to be the team that's just going to run all over this 49ers team. And that's been a huge staple for them for a long time. You're going to get pressured. Jalen's a guy who can break the pocket and make stuff happen, but this game's going to come down to it. You have elite weapons in the passing game. Can you find one of them open? Because if you can't, and you're going to have to rely on just running around, I think they're going to be in trouble. But they do have the weapons. Last week, that first pass of the game, boom, big bomb, Devontae Smith, and he caught that pass, and I'm like, man, look at AJ with this huge catch. And then I'm like, wow, that's not AJ. That's a 5'8", 160-pound dude that I somehow confused with a guy who's like 6'4" and 230. But that's how good those guys are.
Yeah, he's 6 foot 170. All right.
Oh, sorry. Let me give him that 10 pounds. The guy's been in the NFL for a year or two now, so he's gotten to bulk up a little bit.
Right.
But to me, that's what it comes down to. Can you stop the run? Can you pass? I think those are the keys to victory for the Eagles. The Niners, obviously, it's just, getting those big explosive plays and then, letting your defense do work. Make sure that you stop Jalen when he gets outside that pocket. As long as you can play contain, we saw it work a little bit before, and that's just what they're going to have to try and do. At the end of the day, for me, this is an easy game for me. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm super excited to watch it. But to me, the 49ers are the best team in football. They are deep everywhere. They're surrounded by elite talent. They have Pro Bowlers all over the place. I don't know. I got the 49ers win this game. They're just too good. And every time I see them play, I don't see any weaknesses on this team. And you think Mr. Relevant would be that weakness, and he's looked really good. I'm not saying the guy's elite. I'm not saying he's a superstar, but he's looked really good. His team was good with Jimmy G, and the reason they struggled was he would make a mistake. Brock Purdy's not making those mistakes. So I have the Niners winning this game. The Eagles had a great run. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think the Niners win this game.
Okay. Now it's kind of interesting. So, I think one of the things that, you might be kind of downplaying here a little bit is the fact that 49ers haven't had to make, Brock Purdy be, make those, he's never been put into a position where he could make those mistakes, right? It's been a bunch of, just kind of distribute the ball to your playmakers. But they haven't seen a defense like Phillies this year, right? We led the league in sacks this year. And you don't think that's going to be, potentially an issue for a guy that, looked average last week, but, you don't think that's going to be an issue for a rookie coming into a hostile environment, coming into an NFC championship game with a chance to go to the Super Bowl, facing, I don't know, we'll call it a top 5 all-time pass rush in NFL history. I mean,
look, I think that the Eagles, obviously that defense, especially that front, is ridiculous. All right. And I think they're definitely going to put pressure on him. I don't know how much it's going to rattle him. Yeah, AFC big pressure situations. This kid just looks like he's playing on borrowed time. I don't know if that's true anymore. I think he might have played himself into a job. But
Sure.
I think for him, going into it, that's probably when he's been so poised. I'm Mr. Irrelevant. I'm borrowed on borrowed time. I'm just going to enjoy while I'm out here because I might not even get to play again. That's how he's kind of going about these games. And I would counter that. Yes, I think the Eagles defense is ridiculously good. Their front is probably number 1, number 2, depending on how you want to argue it with the Niners, as far as the best fronts in football. But let's not kid ourselves that the Dallas Cowboys front is not good too. And
Sure.
we watched him play last week, and hey, look, average, pedestrian, I see poised. I don't think he was elite last week, but the guy was smart with the football. He made some plays that I wouldn't see a rookie typically make. I don't know if this guy's going to be as easy to rattle as people think it is, for whatever the reasons might be. Whether it's I'm on borrowed time, it doesn't matter to me if I win or lose. Whether it's just he's the kind of guy that's just super poised in that pocket. If you can get to him, you can rattle him. Maybe you can have those moves. I'm not saying it's impossible, but this is the best line that the Eagles front has had to face all year. It's going to be an absolute brutal slugfest. This is a football I love, right? Football is won in the trenches, and the Eagles have arguably a 1 or 2 top offensive line in football compared to the 49ers. So, this is literally the best offensive, defensive lines in the entire game, beating the crap out of each other. And look, I think we're not too far off, right? We both think this is going to be a close game. I got the Niners, you got the Eagles. I think it's going to come down to the same things, right? Whose team can get the edge, in the pocket? Who can keep Jalen from being able to run around and make crazy stuff happen? Can you get Brock Purdy to make those mistakes that you would expect from a rookie quarterback? Those are going to be huge deciding factors. I think that the one thing that could offset some of that pass rush is just their ability to do those quick dumps to a guy like George Kittle, who can come off the line. He can check a guy like Hassan Reddick and catch a 3-yard out and take it for 40 yards, right? They have a guy like Christian McCaffrey who could check you coming into the backfield and catch a little slant and take it, And I think that that's how they can kind of combat trying to push some of that pass rush on you guys. All it's going to take is 3 or 4 of those where they check you guys at the line to make some of that pressure kind of ease up a little bit. It's not going to be easy. And I know I make it sound easy.
No.
Oh, yeah, just bump Hassan Reddick and step outside. It's not going to be that easy. I don't think the Eagles are going to present a defense that is so far and beyond anything that they've faced this year. It is away from home though, so it could make a difference. We'll see. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm excited for the game. It's going to be an absolute slugfest. Like I said, these are the 2 best teams in football all the way around, and it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to come out of this slugfest on top, bloody, bruised, and raining down with that confetti. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't think you're making it sound easy. I think it's, Everything sounds easy, but I don't think you think it will be easy because, like you said, these are the two best teams in the league right now. It's literally going to be a matchup of offense. It's going to be a battle of the trenches, right? That's how the Eagles won their first Super Bowl. Was we had arguably the best O line D line combo in the league, and I think that's what we're trying to do again this year. And I think that San Fran says no, that title belongs to us. And so I think they're both trying to do the exact same thing to one another. It's just it's gonna be a slugfest for sure. So I just want to get your thoughts on some of those things, but I definitely think it's gonna be a really close game for sure too.
It's gonna be a ton of fun to watch. I'm super excited for that one. To me, that's going to be the best game of the weekend, and the one I'm definitely most excited to watch. After this game, 6:30, that game ends. We're gonna have a little bit of a break, and we're gonna jump right back into the next game. Cincinnati and Kansas City. Cincinnati going to KC. Cincinnati only a 1-point favorite in that game. Throw your money on that because 1 point. Look, here's the deal. If Patrick Mahomes was healthy, this would be a great game. All right.
Yes.
However, Patrick Mahomes is not healthy, and it's a high ankle sprain. Those do not heal in 6 days. I don't care what any doctor says. I don't care how much Andy Reid comes out and says he's going to play. He is going to play because this is the conference championship and he's Patrick Mahomes and he should play. All right. So before people come at me, oh, he's hurt. Look, man, you're a professional athlete. He understands the risks. You got to get out there and you got to perform. But the reality is he's hurt. And part of what makes Patrick Mahomes is his ability to create those magical plays when stuff just doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. Sidearms, the jump passes, the rolls. He's just not going to be able to do that to any sort of the same extent that he could before. I don't care if you tape it up. I don't care if you shoot him up. You just can't perform the same way with that kind of an injury. We saw it last week. He came back and he played that second half, and it's not there. All right. The team is still ridiculously good. Patrick Mahomes can absolutely 100% beat you from the pocket. It's not like this ankle kills him, but it takes that extra piece of magic out of his game. And when you're playing a team like Cincinnati and a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who is 3-0 against this Kansas City Chiefs team, you need to be able to fire on all cylinders and you need to have all your weapons healthy. And when, your quarterback is hurt like this, it puts a huge wrinkle in it. And to me, without even getting into Cincinnati and how good that team is as a whole, that injury to Patrick Mahomes, it instantly makes me go, Cincinnati -1. I'm going to take that all day. I'm going to put money down and I'm going to ride that to the bank. I had Kansas City and the 49ers in the Super Bowl at the start of the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes went out, and I was like, man, can I cash this bet out? Because Kansas City's not winning this game with Patrick Mahomes hurt. I don't know if you feel the same way, Mike, but to me, this game will be some fireworks, but it's not going to be what it would have been with Patrick Mahomes healthy.
No, I agree. I think the injury definitely takes some of the shine off of this game for sure. I think it's kind of a lot like earlier in the year where Dallas played Philly for the second time, where everyone was like, really looking forward to it because all the Cowboys had to do the week before was beat the at the time lowly Jags. And then it was supposed to be, a battle, for possibly the division. And then Dallas went and messed it up, and Eagles ended up winning anyway, the division anyways. But because they lost, it took that shine off of it. And I think that injury to Mahomes, I agree. I think it's going to take a lot of the shine off of this game. I think, earlier we were talking about, Joe Burrow is for me, like I said, clearly at worst, he's the second best quarterback in football. And that title of number one does go to Mahomes.
Absolutely.
I think Mahomes is arguably the single greatest talent we've ever seen. It's a toss up between him, Aaron Rodgers, and Dan Marino are probably amongst the most talented quarterbacks we have ever seen. Mahomes is able to do things that very few people on this planet could do. He's able to, run around 360 pirouette, no scope, snipe somebody into the back of the end zone, and it's a perfect touchdown. And it's just craziness. And so we've seen him do those kinds of things before. Andy Reid has full confidence in him. He gives him the green light to do anything and everything. The playbook is wide open. We saw them doing some, ring around the
razzle dazzle
thing. Crazy, right? We've seen Andy Reid give Patrick Mahomes the green light to do all these things, but that's when he's healthy, and he's not. And I think anyone that says that he's Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick Mahomes is either lying to themselves or they're unaware of how much an ankle injury like that can seriously affect you and how much mobility is a part of Patrick Mahomes' game. I think he's probably, the 8th or 10th best pocket passer in the league. If you just need him to just sit back there and drop dimes all day, he can do it. He can do it at a high level. But what makes him so special is his ability to just create plays. When the play breaks down, when the pocket breaks down, he can roll left, he can roll right, he can throw it across his body 60 yards down the field and hit it, drop it in a bucket, right? He's insane like that, but he's not going to be able to do all that this week. And so I think that's gonna play a big factor in this game. I think Joe Cool's going to be Joe Cool. He's averaging about 72% of his passes on this defense over the last 3 games that they played. Like you mentioned, he's 3-0. Yeah, 72% of his passes, 330 yards per game, 8 touchdowns and 1 interception. I mean, come on. Like, he's basically throwing, 70, 330, and then 3 touchdowns a game. That's essentially what his stats almost come down to.
Mm-hmm.
And that the defense, that's been the one real true weakness that we've seen from this Kansas City Chiefs team. Is it's interesting that teams try to, when they build around trying to beat the Chiefs, they're trying to build a super tough defense, and they're kind of neglecting the offense and hoping that like an above average offense is what's going to get them through it. But that's not. The issue is Mahomes is going to be magical against everybody. You need to outscore them. And the way to kind of circumvent that is because the Chiefs don't have a great team on defense at the moment. They have Chris Jones, who is a stud. But outside of that, on the secondary, they have guys. They're playing, I think, the second or the third most rookies in the league this year. So, look, maybe they'll be good in 2 or 3 years on the defense, but not right here, not right now. They haven't been the last couple of years, and that's always been their Achilles heel. Dating back even to Andy Reid's days as an Eagles head coach, that was one of our weaknesses. We had a handful of good years with good defenses, but Andy Reid's an offensive guy. He generally will hire a defensive coordinator, say, you do your thing, and kind of be very hands-off to it. But it's never been very good since Patrick Mahomes has been there. And so I would imagine that Mahomes is going to struggle a little bit. I think Joe Burrow is going to just cook with, Ja'Marr Chase, top 10 wide receiver in the league. T. Higgins, top 25 wide receiver in the league, and Tyler Boyd, who's probably the best number 3 in the league right now, along with Joe Mixon, who had a really good game last week. They're just going to carve him up, and I think it's going to be problems. And so I think it's going to be relatively easy, relative being an operative word here, relatively easy. I think the Bengals win this one 30-20, and shout out to the Chiefs for making this the Arrowhead Invitational. I know we've seen in college playoffs where people talk about it's the Alabama invite. Actually this year, the Kansas City Chiefs have set a record for the most conference championship games being hosted in a row at 5. So good job with the Arrowhead Invitational, but I think that Joe Burrow gets you guys again.
It's as a Broncos fan, it's fun to watch Kansas City just absolutely dominate and know that I'm going to have to face Patrick Mahomes for the next decade. But I mean, look, it turns out you do need an ankle to play football. And ankles are an important part of walking and running. I know, who would have guessed? But you do need those things to do stuff. And I mean, look, Cincinnati is a great team. They have a really good defense, and they have a really good offense, and they have the second best quarterback in football. And when you're playing a team with a good defense, an average defense, an elite offense, but your elite weapon is just not that guy anymore, it hurts you. And I think it's just, Casey's just not going to have what it takes. I don't blame them. I had them winning this game prior to this injury, but this injury is the game changer. And at this point, it's not going to be close. So we got Eagles and 49ers, 1 apiece, and both of us taking Cincinnati to go to the Super Bowl. So we're really excited to see which one of us is right. On a side note, there was a part of me that was like, hey, Eagles, Kansas City, Super Bowl. Would be the first time in NFL history that 2 brothers have played themselves in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, neither of them is going to make the Super Bowl this year. So, bummer.
Oof. Well, hey, they'd also be the first brothers to do what we're doing. They both have that awesome podcast. I don't know if you guys watch that, but love their podcast. So I think if nothing else, I mean, for the storylines and all that, that would, for me, little bit of small amount of bias, little bias here, wanting the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl. But I think that the Eagles and Chiefs would probably make for the best compelling storylines because on top of having the two brothers and Travis and Jason playing each other, you also have Andy Reid playing his old team, and so he's. I don't honestly. I was about to say he's loved in Philadelphia, but now that I'm thinking about it, I know I love him.
Booed,
I would say
booed out of town.
I respect him, but you're right. They do boo the hell out of him. So maybe it wouldn't be a warm reception for him, even though it's played a neutral site or
He's
whatever.
wearing red now, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's all that would matter. So, yeah, I think there's some good games. Like I said, I mean, I wish Patrick Mahomes was healthy. It would have made this a fantastic weekend every way around. Still going to be a bunch of good games, but it'll be exciting. I'm excited to eat some wings this weekend. Down a couple of cold ones and watch some great football. And next week is going to be a great week for us. Obviously, it's the Pro Bowl weekend. Before we get into the Super Bowl, and here's the deal: I think the Pro Bowl is a joke. Flag football, no, thank you, get me out of here. I get it. They're like, let's play flag football. Everybody's going to try harder because there's no risk of injury, right? Because this fake two-hand touch they were playing before. Look, I got news for everybody. They're not going to play anyway. All right, they don't care who wins or loses. They're going to jog around with some flags on their hips. It's going to be an absolute joke. I'm sure that they're going to find a way to screw up a skills competition that used to be enjoyable to watch. So
used to be fun for sure.
Here's the deal. We're not even going to talk about this next week. We're going to pretend like the Pro Bowl doesn't exist until the NFL figures out a way to make it not suck. In which case we'll tune back in. But until then, we're going to pretend like it doesn't exist. So next week, guys, come and join us. We're going to be talking about the NFL honors, which will be given out right before the Super Bowl. Mike and I are going to be giving you our picks for who we think are going to win all the top awards. And we're going to see how many we agree on, disagree in. I'm sure there's going to be some healthy debates on a couple of them. And we might even throw in a few of our own awards just for the fun of it. So we'll see you guys next week. Until then, enjoy some football.